Takt Op Destiny is a mobile game anime adaptation with an identity crisis. As of right now, only one episode has been released, but it's already giving me many mixed messages.
ダメでした。
It's set in a once realistic USA where two types of magical meteors rain down from space: yellow meteorites that empower people, and black meteors splintering into many pieces, summoning demonic entities who killed practically everything around them. According to the anime, people fight against these creatures using music. However, they don't actually fight against them using music unless this is a musical sword and this is a musical gun. Spoiler alert, they're not. This sword is a slashy sword and this gun is a shooty gun. The only thing musically relevant to combat so far is that Takt, the protagonist, uses a musical baton to increase the magic power of young Colette. Now, I've never held a musical baton, and I could be wrong, but I don't think they're actually musical. They emit no sound unless you whack someone over the head with it. I fail to see how this anime is the least bit musical outside of Takt's interest in music and the ability to play the piano. However, there is a connection between music and the monsters, as evident by how monsters come running whenever someone's playing it. Apparently, it doesn't matter if it's pre-recorded or live music, it all shares the same result. Maybe music will hurt these monsters, but if that's the case, why are people playing it instead of using weapons? There's also this strange connection between Takt and Colette, leading me to believe the yellow meteorites can create some magical symbiotic relationship between two people. However, there's also hints that were dropped by Colette when she was eating donuts. She said, "Why do humans do this?" referring to the fact that they made an completely entire delicious donut and then removed the center from it. It's like she wants that centerpiece, but she was referring to humanity as some sort of outsider. So maybe she's not human? I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here, help me out. When they do confront these monsters, Takt, for whatever reason, makes his arm disappear temporarily, which transforms Colette into her magical girl uniform, and a baton appears in her hand that she has to throw back to Takt, where he grabs it, and then she materializes whatever weapon she wants. Is she materializing the baton the same way that she's materializing the weapons? Is it possible that she was the one who obtained the power of the yellow meteorite, but you need to have magical knowledge in order to use it, and then she materializes the baton to give to him? That is not necessarily something that he creates as a power, but something that she shares with him because she's musically inept. I really don't see anything musical here unless it's referring to the faint musical notes that play when his arm disappears or when she uses her gun. Of course, there's also music playing in the background when they fight, but that's never explained. If it's background music or if it's some sort of musical aura, they just don't say. I'm led to believe it's just background music since no one commented on it yet, and background music plays during other scenes with no monsters reacting. It's possible that in those scenes with the background music, such as in the car, it was coming from the radio, but they weren't in danger zones. However, the map depicts this massive danger area, and they were coming between two locations that also did not allow them to play music, so that also doesn't make any sense if that was the case. So basically, you just have a lot of music here, but it's just background music and it has no implication on the story whatsoever. They explain that Colette's power is derived from Takt's caloric intake and life energy, yet she eats a ton and he eats almost nothing, but yet she still manages to fight with increasing power each time, so I'm guessing the caloric intake is like a shared mana pool. I also question how long ago these meteors fell, because the opening scene depicts a mother reading a picture book to her kids who had no idea of what music is. So if a massive meteor fell from space filled with monsters and several years later they've only occupied a fraction of the United States, they must be moving incredibly slow. Either that or they murdered everything at ground zero and their primary sense is hearing, so they spread by attacking people near their border who happen to be dumb enough to play music after a catastrophic event that's so widely known that it's even depicted in children's picture books. I'd also like to know why Takt temporarily sacrifices his arm when everyone holding the baton had all of their limbs in the picture book. They were also flying too, so I guess that's either dramatization for children reading the book or something that will be explained later. Maybe he can fly. I also hypothesize that Cosette's ability to materialize things out of thin air could be similar to the lantern rings, but all she can think of would either be a gun or a sword, but that still doesn't make sense for obvious reasons. Still, they did explain that she uses up an incredibly high amount of Takt's life energy, so maybe she's supposed supposed to materialize musical instruments to fight with, but she doesn't know any better. But if that's the case, how do they know about the New York Symphonica or the technical knowledge about how their power works? Furthermore, Takt states that he'll die if he can't play music. Maybe he's joking, but perhaps he's partially serious. Possibly their power just doesn't derive from calories or life energy, but also the feelings derived from one playing music. Maybe music is to the spirit what food is to the body, and hearing or playing music is just as important as eating. Now I know this is just the first episode, and I'm cutting it slack because I need to wait for further explanations, but these are just my first impressions. The anime has to explain something in its first episode though, and so far it's giving me little but inconsistent exposition. We know virtually nothing about the main characters other than Takt plays the piano, Colette is Anna's little sister, and they're going to New York, where apparently there are other people like them have gathered there. But how do they know about that information, and why are all those people gathered in New York? Is that like a stronghold for the people who were fighting against the blight, you could say, that is, they're just stationed in New York? I don't know how the information travels back and forth, because it didn't seem like they had a whole lot of internet back then. I don't know. Now, I'm all for a good action fest. If it's exciting, I don't care how the powers work or if they even make sense, as long as it's self-aware. Unfortunately, Takt Op Destiny attempts to tell a serious story revolving around a semi-cataclysmic event, yet it's filled with juvenile humor and doesn't take itself seriously in the least.
失礼少々お借りします
After the first fight, Takt falls about 30 feet onto concrete, leaving a body-shaped indentation like something out of a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. Does Takt weigh 500 pounds? Probably not, because Colette, the 13-year-old, picks him up and juggles him around like something also out of a kid's cartoon. Furthermore, with no situational awareness, Takt gets Colette to transform inside a diner and destroy a wall. Still, nobody working there seems to care about the fact that 1. Takt just lost his arm, 2. Colette just changed outfits in front of him, or 3. That their diner now has 3 walls. You'd think this woman on the stool would at least stand up, but apparently it's business as usual. You could chalk this up to lack of attention to detail on the animator's behalf, but this is about 200 individually drawn pictures someone drew of 2 people not giving a damn. Even if that were the case, they didn't say a word about the damage, they just ignored it. In all seriousness, I can't tell if this will be a mindless action comedy popcorn flick or tragic tale of a few lone humans fighting for the sake of humanity. I enjoy each of these components individually, and it's totally possible to be serious, humorous, and good at the same time. However, I see it like an RPG stat page. If you have 10 points to distribute, you'll likely fill them by the level of importance according to your character goals. Including this type of humor in a serious story is like equally distributing your points in dexterity and spirit. They're both valuable stats, but they rarely need to be equally prioritized. So far, the only consistent thing about this anime is its production value, and considering it's a joint effort from Madhouse and MAPPA, I think that's to be expected. However, my experiences in episode 1 led me to believe that its story should be the most important factor. In that regard, its director and scriptwriter are both skilled, but neither of them have ever worked on anything that I thought was that great. Considering this is an anime original, the only way we can find out more is just to wait. Well, technically speaking, it's an anime original, but it's also an adaptation of a mobile game, but I don't think the mobile game is out yet, so there's really no way to learn anything about it. However, I don't expect too much from a mobile game anime adaptation, and as of right now, I cannot recommend watching Takt Op Destiny. There are 6 decades worth of better anime out there that's worth your time more than this, though I will probably continue covering this for a few weeks to come. In case it gets better, I'll be sure to let you all know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later with another promising anime from fall 2021, though I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but I'll see you then.